Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing the CSEC Mathematics January past paper 2 from the year 2010 to 2021. So this is all January paper 2 past paper, and the topic that we'll be focusing on today is fractions. So let's get right into this video. Now, the first question taken from the January 2010 question 1A says, using a calculator or otherwise calculate the exact value of 2.76 divided by 0.8 plus or add 8.7 square, and this is worth 3 marks. Now, what we simply do, we divide 2.76 into 0.8 and we got 3.45, and we add that to 8.7 square, which is 8.7 times 8.7, which gives us 75.69, and when we add those two together we get 79.14. Easy 3 marks. Now let's move on to the next question, and this is taken from the January 2011 paper. Now, usually, as we know, fractions comes at the very first question. So question 1A, this has two parts to it. It says calculate the exact value of 5.8 square plus 1.02 times 2.5, and that is 2 marks. And the second part of the question says 2 and 4/9 divided by 4 and 2/3 subtracted from 3/7 fraction. So let's work out the first part. So 5.8 square added to 1.02 times 2.5. So 5.8 square, 5.8 times 5.8, which gives us 33.64, and then we add 1.02 to that, and then we multiply that by 2.5, and we got 86.65. Let's move on to the second part. 2 and 4/9 divided by 4 and 2/3 subtracted from 3/7. So first what we do, we change our mixed fraction to improper fraction. So we multiply 9 times 2 and then we add 4. We got 22/9. We do the same for the 4 and 2/3. We change that improper fraction to an improper fraction. So 3 times 4 is 12. Then we add 2, that's 14/3, and we subtract that from 3/7 fraction. Now, what we simply do, we're going to divide our numerator into our denominator, which is 22/9 divided by 14/3. Now, what we know when we're dividing or inverting, we invert or flip. So it will now become 22/9 times, changes division to multiplication, and then we flip the 14/3 because we know the line suggests division. So when we work out that, we know 3 into 3 goes 1 time, 3 into 9 goes 3 times. And then we can use 2 to divide into 22 and 14. So 2 into 22 goes 11 times, and 2 into 14 goes 7 times. So that would have been another way you could have worked that out, and that would have given you 11/21. But as you can see on my screen, I simply cross multiply. I didn't cancel to its lowest term. The first way method that I have just demonstrated to you is one way. Here is another way on the screen. I simply multiply my two numerators, and then I also multiply my two denominators, which is 22 times 3, that's 66, and 9 times 14 is 126. And then we subtract that. No, we don't throw away the other part of the equation. We subtract that from 3 sevenths. So we now have 1121 subtract from 3 sevenths. What do? We find the LCM. So the LCM of our denominators 21 and 7 are 21, because both 21 can go into itself and 7 can go into 21. So 21 into 21 goes one time, and then we multiply that 1 by 11, which gives us 11. 7 into 21 goes 3 times, and we multiply that 3 times 3, which gives us 9. So we should have 11 take away 9 over 21, which gives us 2 over 21. I missed that line. So you should have 11 subtract 9 and over 21, and that gives us 2 over 21. So I missed out that line. So please ensure that you write that in showing your step by step how to calculate it. Let's move on to the next question now. And you would have gotten 5 marks for that question. The 2012 January past paper. Question 1A, it has two parts to it. It says, using a calculator or otherwise calculate the exact value of. So when it says exact as it shows in all caps, it means that exactly what appears on your calculator, that is what you are going to write in giving your answer. So the first part worth 3 marks. It says 1 3/4 square divided by 3 1/2. And it says express your answer as a fraction. The second part says the square root of 0.0529 add to 0.216, and you are to express your answer in standard form. Now, let's work out the first part. So 1 3/4 square is saying 1 3/4 times 1 3/4. Or you could simply change the 1 3/4 to a mixed fraction. To an improper fraction. So we change 1 3/4 mixed fraction, we change it to an improper fraction, and then we square that, both the numerator and the denominator. So we'll have 7 over 4 square in bracket divided, and we multiply our denominator with our whole number and then add our numerator. So 2 times 3 is 6, and add 1 to that, that's 7 over 2. So we now have 7 over 4 square divided by 7 1/2. So we know 7 square is 49. 4 square is 16 divided by 7 over 2. Now, 49 over 16, we know we now change our division to multiplication and invert or flip the fraction. So the 2 will become on top and the 7 will now be our denominator. So we cancel or bring to its lowest terms. So we say 2 into 2 goes 1 times, 2 into 16 goes 8 times, 7 into 7 goes 1 time, 7 into 49 goes 7 times. So we now have 7 over 8, and that is our fraction for our answer. Now, the second part of the question asks us to find the square root 0.0529, and the square root of that is 0.23, and then add 0.216 to that, which gives us 0.4 446. Now they ask us to express your answer in standard form. So we know that would become 4.46 times 10 raised to the negative 1 power. So that would be your answer. Let's move on to the next question now. We're going to the January 2013 paper. It says, using a calculator or otherwise, calculate the exact value of 2.67 times or multiply by 4.1, subtract from 1.3 square. 3 marks for this. So we work out what is in our bracket. We know that is when we multiply 2.67 times 4.1, that gives us 10.947, and 1.3 square, 1.3 times 1.3 gives us 1.69, and when we subtract the 2 we got 9.257. That's our answer. 3 marks for that. Let's move on to 2014, January 2014. It has two parts, A and B. It says calculate the exact value of 1 3/4 subtract from 1/8. Then that is added to what is in the other bracket, 5/6 divided by 2/3, 3 marks. So let's work out the A part first. So what we simply do, we know we change our mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So we multiply our denominator by our whole number and add our numerator. 4 times 1 is 4. Then we add 3, we got 7/4. And we subtract 1/8. What we're going to, we now have 7/4 subtract 1/8. What we simply do, we are going to find our LCM. So the LCM of 4 and 8, our denominators, would be 8. Both 4 and 8 can go into that. So 4 into 8 goes 2 times. 2 times 7 numerator gives us 14. 8 into 8 goes 1 times, and 1 times 1 is 1. So 14 over 8 subtract from 1. 8 gives us 13 over 8. Now let's work out the other bracket. 5/6 divided by 2/3. So 5/6, we change the division to multiplication, and then we invert or flip our fraction. So the 3 becomes our numerator and the 2 becomes our denominator. So 5/6 times 3 over 2, we cancel or bring to its lowest term. 3 into 3 goes 1 times. 3 into 6 goes 2 times. So we're left with 5 multiplied by 1, which is 5, and 2 multiplied by 2, our denominator is 4. So we now have 5/4. So our two fractions that we're working with is 13 over 8 added to 5/4. So we are going to now find our LCM of 8 and 4, 8 again. So 8 into 8 goes 1 times. 1 times 13 gives us 30. 4 into 8 goes 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. So 13 and 10 gives us 23 over 8, which is an improper fraction, or we could use it, give it in a mixed fraction, 2 and 7/8. So that's the answer for A. Let's move on to the B part. It says using a calculator or otherwise, calculate the square root of 2.891 and then add that to 12 divided by 1.31 square. So the square root of 2.891 is 1.700, and then we divide 1.2 into 1.31 square. Now 1.31 square is 1.716. So when we divide 1.2 into 1.716, we got 0.699, and now we can add it to 1.700, which gives us 2.399. But they ask us for something. They say giving your answer correct to two decimal places. So we know two decimal places is the second 9, but if we notice a 9 comes after that, so we know we're going to add 1 and round up. So we'll get 2.40. That is to two decimal places. Let's move on to number 15. Sorry, 2015 general paper. So the first question, the A part says using a calculator or otherwise calculate the exact value of 12.8 squared, and you're going to subtract that from another part, 30 divided by 0.375. That is 3 marks. So let's work it out. So 12.8 square, 12.8 times 12.8, that is 163.84. And then when we work out what is inside the other bracket, which is 30 divided by 0.375, we got 80. So we can now subtract the two from each other, which gives us the answer of 83.84. Let's move on to 2016. So January 2016 now. A part of question 1 says, using a calculator or otherwise, calculate the exact value of 3.6 plus or add to the square root of 51.84 divided by 3.75. So let's work it out. So let's find the square root of 51.84. That is 7.2. So we now have 3.6 add to 7.2 divide by 3.75. So when we add 3.6 and 7.2, we get 10.8. And 10.8 divided by 3.75, we get 2.88. That's the exact value that is given on your calculator. Good. Let's look at the year 2017. Here we have it. So it says, using a calculator or otherwise, calculate the exact value of. So we have 3.5 multiplied by 1 2/3, and that is divided by 4 1/5. 2 marks for that. Let's work that out first. So we change our mixed fraction to improper. So we multiply denominator 2 times whole times 3, the whole number, multiply, add our numerator 1. So we got 7/2 multiply, we change the mixed fraction 1 2/3, we got 5/3, and divide by, we do the same with 4 1/5. We change it to an improper fraction and we got 21/5. So we now have 7/2 multiplied by 5/3 divided by 21/5. So let's work out how we could go about this two ways. We could first, it's not shown on the screen, but we could work out 7/2 times 5/3. When we'd get, we simply get, we'd get 35/6. So we've gotten 35/6, and we simply divide that by 21/5. So we now have 35/6 multiplied by, we flip the 5 and it becomes on the top, and the 21 at the bottom. So you could have worked it out that, and when you work that out, it will give you the same result of 25 over 18. But I went straight ahead and do it all together because we would have divided, so I simply multiply and flip the 21, the 5 and the 21, so it becomes 5 on top on the 21, and we simply cancel. 7 into 7 goes 1 times, 7 into 21 goes 3 times. So we're now left with a half times 5 over 3 times 5 over 3 equal 25 over 18, or 1 and 7, 18. So that would have been your answer. And for the 35 over 6 that we mentioned first, times 5 over 21, all you would have done is cancel. 7 into 35 goes 5 times, 7 into 21 goes 3 times, and 5 times 5 is 25, and 6 times 3 is 18. So we would have gotten the same answer. So that's two alternative method that this one question can be worked out. Let's move to the second part of the question now. It says 5.47 subtract the square root of 0.1014 divided by 1.5. 2 marks for that. So what we do, we go right ahead and divide 0.1014, divide that by 1.5, and we got 0.0676. And then we simply find the square root of that, which is 0.26. So we can now subtract 5.47 from 0.26, which gives us 5.21. That's just simple steps in how to calculate that. So let's move on to the year 2018. Here we go. It says using a calculator or otherwise calculate 1 5.5 divided by 3 and 2/3, and then add to 1 and 4/5. And you are to give your answer as a fraction in its lowest term. So we know cancellation, we're going to have to cancel to its lowest term, 2 marks. Now we simply change the mixed fractions to improper fractions. So 5.5 becomes 11 over 2. 3 and 2/3 becomes 11 over 3. And that is divided into that. And then we add to 1 and 4/5. Now we could have gone right ahead and change it mixed fraction to 9 over 5. We could have done that, but I just work it out step by step so you can see. So 11 over 2, we change the division to multiplication and invert or flip the 11 over 3. So 11 becomes the denominator, 3 becomes the numerator. And then we're going to add that to 1 and 4/5, or we could have add to 9 over 5. So we cancel. 11 into 11 goes 1 time. So we're now left with 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. So we're now left with 3 over 2, and that is added to 1 and 4/5, or 9 over 5. What do we do next? We simply find the LCM of 2 and 5, because both fractions are improper fractions. So 10 would be our denominator or LCM that we're working with. So 2 into 10 goes 5 times, and we're going to multiply the 5 by the 3. 5 into 10 goes 2 times, and we're going to multiply 2 by 9. So 5 times 3, 15. 2 times 9, 18. So we now have 15 plus 18 over 10. That gives us 33 over 10, which is equal to 3 and 3 over 10. Either answer would be correct. Let's go to the second part of the question. And this is easy. You just get 1 mark for this. It says 165 times or multiply 0.38 square, giving your answer as an exact value. 165 times 0.38 times 0.38, we get, according to our calculator, 23.826. We don't round it off, we leave it as it is because they required us to give the exact value. So we do not do anything to the number. Write your answer as it is. So let's move on to 2019 paper. It says evaluate, and this is A and B, and A has two parts. First part says 3.8 times 10 squared, and then you're going to add 1.7 times 10 raised to the cube 3. What do we do? So we simply 3.8 times 10 squared, we know that is, and it says giving your answer in standard form. All right, so 0.38 times 10 times 10 squared, because 0.38 times 10 would give us 3.8. So 0.38 times 10 squared, that is coming from our question, added to 1.7 times 10 raised to the cube. Now 0.38 times 10 to the cube, because 10 times 10 squared would give us 10 cubed, and then we add 1.7 times 10 to the cube. So when we work that out, we get 0.38, and then we add that to 1.7. And of course, in standard form, we're going to multiply that by 10 raised to the third power. So that would give us as our answer 2.08 times 10 raised to the cube power in standard form. Let's go to the second part of the question. A half multiplied by 3/5 divided by 3.5. So a half multiplied by 3/5. That gives us 3/10. And now 3/10 would be divided into 3.5. So we simply change our mixed fraction 3.5, which gives us an improper fraction 7/2. So we now have 3/10 divided by 7/2. We change the division sign to multiplication and invert or flip what comes after. So it would now becomes 2 sevens. And we simply cancel. 2 into 2 goes 1 times, 2 into 10, 5. 3 times 1 is 3, 5 times 7 is 35. Finish with that. So you'll get 4 marks in total. The B part says, express the number 6 as a binary number. Now, we know binary means we're going to divide by 2, or the base is 2. So 2 into 6 goes 3 times, remainder 0, right? And then we further know that 2 into 3 goes 1 time, remainder 1, and 2 into 1, we notice, what do we notice here? 1, remainder 0. So that would gives us 110 for our answer. All right. So go to 2020. The first part of the question says, A, using a calculator or otherwise, calculate the exact value of the following. 4 1/5 multiply by 1/3, subtract from 1 1/4. So change out our mixed fraction to improper. So that will give us 21/5 multiplied by 1/3, taken from, subtract that from 5/4. So when we cancel, 3 into 21 goes 7 times. 3 into itself goes 1. So 7 times 1 is 7, and 5 times 1 is 5. So we now have 7/5, and that would be taken away from 5/4. So what do we do next? We find the LCM. So the LCM is 20, 5 and 4. So 5 into 20, we know that's 4. That will be multiplied by 7. 4 into 20 goes 5, and the 5 will multiply by 5. So 7 fours, 28. 5 fives, 25. 28 from 25 gives us 3/20. That's it. And we have an alternative method that we could have done. All we would have done is after we change the improper fraction, we would simply, we would keep the whole number or the mixed fraction as it is. And then we would get, when we subtract this, 2 from 7, sorry, when we subtract this, we got 1 and 2/5, and then we take that from 1 and 1/4. We know 2, the two whole numbers subtract would give us 0. So we simply find the LCM, which is 20, and we got 8 from 5, 5 into 24, 4 2 is 8, 4 into 25, 5 1 is 5, and we got 320. Same answer, right? So let's get go right ahead into the second part of the question. It says, so 7, when we work this out, we got 7/5. So 7/5 as a mixed fraction is 1 and 2/5. So we now have 1 and 2/5 subtract from 1 and 1/4. So after we work this part out, we got 7/5. Then we change it to a mixed fraction, and then we work it out. Our final part says 4.1 taken away from 1.25 squared divided by 0.005. So we know 1.25 square is 1.5625. So when we take that from 4.1, we got 2.5375. We divide that by 0.005, and we got 507.5. Let's take our final question, 2021 January. The first part says, using a calculator or otherwise, calculate the exact value of 1 4/7, add it to 2/3, then subtract from 1 5/6. Change our mixed fraction to improper fraction. That is equal to 11/7 plus 2/3 subtract 11/6. So we find the LCM. You could have worked out 11/7 plus 2/3. You could have worked that out first, and then you subtract it from 11/6. But we can go right ahead and find the LCM, because all our denominators, we can find the LCM. We can find factors of it. So 7, 3, and 6, we know that is 42. So 7 to 42 goes 6, 3, then we multiply that by 11. 3 into 42 was 14, and we multiply that by 2. 6 into 42 goes 7 times, and 7 multiplied by 11. So when we work that out, we get 66 plus 28, and that will be taken away from 77, which, as we know, 66 and 28 would have given us 94. 94 subtract from 77, am I right? So 66 and 28 would have given us 94, and we subtract 77 from that, which gives us 17/42. Or sorry, right? Right, 17 over 42. So let's move on to the second part. Oh, no. What I did, sorry, was to subtract the 28 from the 27, and then what we got, we would have subtract that from 66 because we would have gotten a negative number. So when you work out that, we get 17 over 42. So the negative number would be taken from 66. So that would have given us, that's what, 2 from 6. That's what, 49. So 49 take away 66 would have given us 17. Good. So the second part says, write the value of the cube square root of 27 over 9 square cube as a fraction in its lowest terms. So we know that 27, we would have 3, the cube of that would be 3 times 3 times 3, which is 3, and 9 squared is 9 times 9. So we would have gotten 1 over 27 as our answer. So that is it. We have completed the entire general past papers. Thank you so much for watching.